They taught us to get good grades, wear clean shirts, respect authority, and die quietly in a cubicle. They told us this was success. But it wasn't success. It was domestication. And in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki whispers the truth we weren't supposed to hear. The system was never built for your freedom. It was built for your obedience. At first glance, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a feel-good personal finance story. Two father figures, two mindsets, two outcomes. But beneath the simplicity lies something darker, a psychological civil war. One father, Poor Dad, is loyal to the system, a man of degrees and job security. He believes in playing safe, working hard, and retiring modestly. He's not stupid, he's faithful, and that's his fatal flaw. The other, Rich Dad, is a capitalist through and through. He knows the system is a game and he plays it. He teaches young Robert not to work for money, but to make money work for him. But what Kiyosaki doesn't say outright is this: the difference between Rich Dad and Poor Dad isn't intelligence, it's ideology. One is groomed to serve, the other is trained to rule. This isn't a book about finance, it's about conditioning. Rich Dad, Poor Dad exposes the quiet programming baked into every classroom, paycheck, and polite nod to authority. Poor Dad is a warning, not a failure. In school, we learn to fear being wrong more than we learn to think. Kiyosaki makes a subtle but brutal observation. Traditional education trains people to be employees, not thinkers, not creators, employees. This is where the soul starts to fracture. You enter school with wonder and leave with a resume. You're taught to memorize, regurgitate, obey, not to question, invest, or build. The lesson is clear. Work for money. Don't talk back. Play it safe. Chase promotions. But here's the twist. Poor Dad followed the rules and still lost. His degrees couldn't save him. His hard work didn't set him free. And that is the most damning indictment of the system. The game is rigged, and obedience is not a virtue. It's a strategy for staying poor. Yet we praise Poor Dad because he fits the narrative, because we're afraid of what happens when we admit he was wrong. A good job, that's what we're all taught to want. Prestige, salary, benefits. But what if the job is just a golden leash? Kiyosaki writes, the moment you make passive income and portfolio income a part of your life will change. What he's really saying, the moment you stop selling your time, you stop selling your soul. Here's the psychological contradiction no one talks about. Society tells us to chase comfort. But true wealth lives in risk, in discomfort, in volatility. The path to financial freedom demands the exact traits school punishes: disobedience, experimentation, failure. Wealth is built by the rebel society tries to shame. So why do we cling to jobs? Because they offer predictable struggle. Because being kinda secure feels safer than being totally free. And that's the trap. Kiyosaki focuses on assets versus liabilities. But the real message? It's about leverage. Not just financial leverage, psychological and social leverage. Assets buy you time. Time gives you choices. Choices give you power. And the system hates people with power. That's why Poor Dad can be smart and still be powerless. Because he never owned time. He rented it 9 to 5 and paid with his life. Freedom doesn't come from earning more. It comes from needing less and owning more. But the mainstream interpretation of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is shallow. Influencers quote, buy assets, like it's a motivational slogan, but few ask, What kind of world are we in where owning is liberation and labor is servitude? Why is buying back your time considered success when time should have never been stolen from you? This book isn't just about becoming rich. It's about confronting the brutal truth that you were born into a system that sells your freedom back to you at a price. Rich Dad wins, but not without cost. His wealth depends on the labor of others, on loopholes, tax shelters, rental properties, all things that work because someone else is working for him. In essence, the rich escape the matrix by exploiting the very rules that keep others trapped inside. It's not an evil. It's not a virtue. It's just reality. And Kiyosaki's brilliance lies in how he forces us to look away from morality and focus on outcomes. But there's a chilling undertone. Do you want to be free, or do you want to be good? Do you want to be wealthy or comfortable? Rich Dad. Poor Dad quietly implies that you may have to choose. We've built our identities around jobs, careers, and monthly paychecks. We're terrified of being unemployed, even if our jobs drain us. What if the bigger risk is staying in the system? Kiyosaki doesn't tell you how to become a millionaire overnight. He tells you something far more uncomfortable. You are not broke. You're just trapped. And no one is coming to save you. The modern worker isn't lazy. They're overworked, underempowered, and addicted to the illusion of stability. What if everything you were taught about success was just a way to keep you too busy to question your cage? They said, don't work for money, make money work for you. But what if making money work means turning people into tools? Rich Dad, Poor Dad gave us the blueprint to escape the rat race, but it forgot to ask one thing. What kind of person do you become once you're finally free? Act 1. The Freedom Mirage. Most people read Rich Dad, Poor Dad and walk away thinking, if I just buy assets, I'll be free. But here's the unspoken truth. Most people don't want freedom. They want luxury without labor. They want wealth without responsibility. Real freedom is lonely. It requires self-direction, deep discomfort, and a confrontation with everything you were taught to believe. So what do most people do instead? They mimic wealth. They buy rental properties they can barely afford. They chase side hustles. They say they're investors, but still live paycheck to paycheck, only now with more apps and better lighting. They're still in the cage. They've just upgraded it. Act 2. Ownership as a moral gray zone. Rich Dad. Poor Dad preaches ownership. Own assets, own businesses, own your time. But ownership has a dark side. To own income-generating property means someone else is renting. To own a business means someone else is working under you. To reduce taxes means someone else shoulders the public burden. For one man to retire early, another must work late. Kiyosaki doesn't moralize this, and that's the uncomfortable genius of the book. He exposes a system that rewards detachment, emotional, ethical, even human detachment. The lesson? If you want to be rich in this world, you may have to stop trying to be good. That's the real contradiction. Poor Dad is good. He believes in fairness, contribution, the social contract. Rich Dad plays chess while everyone else is memorizing the rules. So who do you become when you stop playing fair? Act 3. Financial literacy as a form of control. Kiyosaki argues that the rich don't work harder. They think differently. They understand money, taxes, debt, and leverage. And he's right. But the question no one asks is, why wasn't this taught in school? Why is something as essential as financial literacy kept behind paywalls, YouTube channels, and private mentorships? Because it was never meant for everyone. Financial ignorance isn't an accident, it's a feature of the system. The masses are easier to manage when they believe debt is bad. Jobs are secure. Real estate is risky. Wealth is for other people. Kiyosaki's work is dangerous, not because it tells you how to make money, but because it tells you how money controls you when you don't understand it. And the institutions that profit from your ignorance, they've read this book too. They just don't want you to act on it. AC4, The Cult of Entrepreneurship. After reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, many feel inspired to start something, become entrepreneurs, break free. But here's the problem. Most modern entrepreneurship is just wage slavery in a hoodie. People go from 9 to 5 to 24/7. They build businesses that depend entirely on their labor, their attention, their sanity. They're still working for money. They've just replaced the boss with a Shopify account and caffeine. Why? Because they skipped the hard part. Learning real systems, building scalable assets, detaching identity from hustle. They didn't become Rich Dad. They became Poor Dad with an Instagram bio. This is where Kiyosaki's message gets distorted. Being self-employed is not the goal. Owning systems is. But owning systems requires what most people avoid: deep patience, delayed gratification, and strategic detachment. ACT 5. Escape is only real if you don't rebuild the cage. Kiyosaki tells us to escape the rat race. But escaping isn't just financial, it's psychological. Many people make money, but still think like slaves. They fear risk, they fear silence, they fear losing the image of success more than they fear losing their souls. They left the job, but took the scarcity mindset with them. True wealth isn't just about assets, it's about identity. Do you still tie your worth to how hard you work? Do you still need others to validate your hustle? Do you fear leisure, or worse, boredom? These are signs that your prison followed you. And if you're not careful, you'll become Rich Dad financially, but Poor Dad mentally. AC6, the final contradiction. What if you don't want to play the game at all? Here's where Rich Dad, Poor Dad leaves us hanging. What if you don't want to beat the system? What if you want to build something entirely different? Kiyosaki teaches you how to win the capitalist game, but never questions the game itself. So let's ask it. Should freedom always come at someone else's cost? Is financial independence just another form of individualism? Can you be wealthy and ethical? These aren't questions Kiyosaki answers, but they're questions his book dares you to confront if you read between the lines. Because Rich Dad, Poor Dad is not a guidebook, it's a mirror. And most people are too afraid to look directly in. If everything you were taught about jobs, success, and money was a lie, if the truth is that you were never meant to be free, and if the price of wealth is stepping outside morality, comfort, and convention, then you only have three choices. Keep obeying and hope the system changes. Play the game and win, even if it changes you. Burn the game and build something the system can't co-opt. You can stay broke, you can get rich, or you can get free. but you can't have all three. So ask yourself, is your idea of success truly yours, or is it just a better decorated prison?